Guys, welcome back to another video. This video is going to be me rating my least favorite acrylic powders for the very last time. I'm going to give them one more chance, you guys. I'm going to give them one more chance today. Okay, you guys, so hopping right in, we have Anna Acrylics, we have Fairy Acrylics, we have Dime Acrylics, we have Nailed by Naya, and we also have Igel Beauty Acrylics. So these are the 5 acrylic powders that I have swatched before, and they were rated my least favorite. I'm gonna kind of go in order from the ones that I like the most out of the ones that I don't like to my least favorite out of the least favorite, if that makes sense. I'm going to be using my monomer today. I've used my monomer, I've used Young Nails monomer, but in my last few videos, I've been using my monomer for all of my acrylic powder swatches. It works perfectly fine with any acrylic powder, you guys. Now, I am going to be using a size 10 brush. It is a Pana brush. If you want that brush, you can go ahead in my Amazon storefront, and the link will be down below in the description box for you all to go find that brush. This entire video is going to be in real time, so just bear with me if there are some blank spaces. I wanted to keep it completely in real time so you could see exactly how everything was swatching, exactly how everything was drying, exactly how everything was polymerizing. Now, if you are new to swatches and whether or not your acrylic that you're using is bad or good, I have plenty of videos on that, and I recently just did a video showing you all how to work with acrylic powders that are not the best, but you can make them work. So this is going to be a test following up from that video just to see if I can make my least favorite acrylic powders work for me. Off the bat, we are going in with Igel Beauty in the shade Mandarin Madness. This is a beautiful color, you guys. However, the consistency is very weird. The consistency is usually sometimes very runny or sticky like for this acrylic powder. However, it dries super fast. At least it will dry on the nail super fast to the point where you can't move it anymore. But then it takes a minute to actually set in place. But as far as you moving it around, it is going to set fairly quickly. So you need to make sure that you are working pretty fast with it as far as bringing it down the nail. But I did want to leave it kind of in real time of how a normal person or maybe somebody who is practicing or a beginner would be swatching it. So obviously you're not going to move super fast. So I did want to keep this in real time for you. My suggestion for this acrylic powder is to work with smaller beads and work with a little drier beads, but make sure that they are polymerizing completely before you are putting it down on the nail. Now this one, I will say, does give a check for polymerizing as soon as I pick it up. I did not have to tap my brush to make the bead wet. I did not have to do anything manually to get this bead to polymerize. It did it on its own. If you have seen my other video where I swatched this same color, I think it was, I told you all that I typically use Igel Beauty acrylic powders for tie-dye effect on the nail and not actually full cover nail, or fully covering the nails, I should say. So I did go in with a second bead, and this time I dried the bead off. And as you can see, it went on a lot better, you guys. However, it was still a little, had that sticky, tacky feel to it. So this one, I would suggest that you work with a little drier beads or just dry it off a little bit and wait for it to set a little bit on your brush, and then quickly swipe it down so it doesn't set too fast on the nail. That is the only thing I can suggest for you doing this if you are going to be using Igel Beauty as a full cover on the complete nail. Or you can do it how I do it and use this acrylic powder for just a tie-dye effect, and you are just pretty much just putting little spots of the acrylic powder on the nail with other colors that you are combining with it, and they do beautifully on tie-dye effect nails. And I think I might have a video for that. If I do, I'll link it above right here, but I'm not sure. I might link it, I might not. Now this acrylic powder is very messy, so I am going to wipe my brush off with acetone and make sure that no acrylic powder is stuck in my brush for the next swatch, because I don't want that to mess up anything going into the next swatches. Now, while y'all are watching that, I will say for Igel Beauty, I would rate it as, I'm rating them either I would buy them again or I would not buy them ever again. Now, this one I would buy again only because I can work with it to the point where I can use it for certain things and I can kind of manipulate it, and it's not dry. Like, it's not a dry, chalky acrylic. So it's not my favorite by far, but I can work with it. So the next one is Fairy Acrylics in the shade Lush. And you guys, I have a whole video. I think I have 2 videos on this acrylic powder where I use it on the set and I also reviewed it. And my first take on it and review is kind of before I really started going to nail class and learning just how many acrylic powders are so much better and creamier consistency. As you can see, this bead is very dry, and as you can see, I left my monomer dish in the camera so that you could see exactly what I was doing for each bead. You saw how much monomer I had in my brush. I did not wipe my brush off too much. There was a lot of monomer in my brush, you guys. I went ahead and I added monomer to the bead because it was just not polymerizing. I will say I swatched this color in this acrylic 2 times in this video just to double check and make sure that I was doing everything right. So I did everything right. I did everything how I normally do. Y'all have seen my application with other brands like Dynamic, Nail Supply, Not Polish, Valentino. So y'all know I can apply acrylic powder, you guys. Like, it's not a thing where I just don't know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing now, so I cannot sit here and say anymore that it is user error as far as the acrylic powders, because if I try so many times and I keep having the same thing happen, then it's the acrylic, it's not me. So I will say that this acrylic powder is very chalky. It does not polymerize on its own. It will polymerize on its own if you are using smaller beads, or if you are just gonna use like a ton of monomer. But in my opinion, I do not want to have to do that. I do not want to have to work hard to use my acrylic powder. That's my thing. I want acrylic powders where I can literally put my brush in the monomer, tap the bead 2 or 3 times, get the consistency, it polymerizes on its own, and I'm able to lay it down and it just flows how I need it to. Now, as you can see, now I'm using Anna Acrylics. This is in the shade Rapunzel. I forgot to show y'all, so I am going to show y'all right now. It's this beautiful purple that she has. I'm not too fond of Anna Acrylics as a brand, but I know that a lot of y'all like it, so I am going to swatch it again for you all and give you my honest review again. As you can see, I have the Fairy Acrylics to the side, and that is because I am letting that sit. I'm letting it sit because it did not pull down the nail how I wanted to. It was still getting stuck in my brush, you guys. So this is in real time. Mind y'all that this is in real time. So pay attention to how long the Fairy Acrylics is sitting beside me on my left. That is going to tell you right there that what type of acrylic powder this is, because in my personal opinion, I do not want acrylic powder that takes that long to dry. Like, it's going to take forever for that acrylic powder to dry. But back to the Anna Acrylics, this acrylic powder right here is actually polymerizing, you guys. So it was not as bad as the Fairy Acrylics, but it was not as far as it being dry, but it was also not as bad as the Igel Beauty, polymerizing like way too much to the point where it was dripping off of my brush. This one was more workable. So if I had to pick between Fairy Acrylics or Anna Acrylics, I would probably lean more towards Anna Acrylics. However, overall, so far, Igel Beauty is in the lead of acrylic powder that I would buy again if I had to. So the thing that I look for with acrylic powders is when I drag it down, is it getting stuck in my brush? Is the entire bead just pulling off of the nail? Like, is there the consistency? Like, how is the consistency? So for this one, it was not pulling off the nail as much. So I did go ahead and I tried to wet my brush so that it would not get stuck in my brush. That is also a thing that I look for. I don't know if I said that. I make sure that any acrylic If it's getting stuck in my brush, then that is not the acrylic for me. I know for a fact it's not my brush. I only use this brush for swatching. So this brush is fine. So as you can see, I let this acrylic powder sit. I went back to the Fairy Acrylics now, and this is how long it's taken, you guys. So I went back. I'm now swatching it and pulling it down, and it's pulling down pretty decent now, you guys. So if you want to take the time to have your beads sit that long and you have that much time in your day to actually work with an acrylic like this, then by all means, go ahead and purchase it. But for me, my opinion, I do not want an acrylic that I have to sit and wait for it to do what I want it to do. It needs to be working for me. And at this point, I'm working for that acrylic. Like that acrylic is putting me to work. So that's not the acrylic for me. However, her acrylics are actually really, really nice. Like they're really pretty. I say nice as in like how they look. They're really, really pretty. She has amazing colors. So if that is something or the consistency that you prefer, then these will probably be the acrylics for you. But in my personal opinion, they are not the acrylics for me. And I just want to show you guys on camera what exactly I talk about in my videos when I say I love a buttery consistency and a smooth consistency. So right now I'm just wiping off my brush over to the side. Like I said, I kept this in real time because I wanted you all to see exactly how long everything was sitting and how long everything took to dry, you guys. So I am going to pick back up the Anna acrylics, and I am going to put a little bit more powder on the end or the tip of it. I'm going to try to let it polymerize on my brush, and it is doing it slightly, but not as quick as I would like it to. So I'm just pretty much waiting. I'm waiting for it to polymerize on my brush before putting it down on the nail. Your beads should always be glossy. Glossy is when you know that they are fully polymerized. They should always be glossy when you put it down, before you put it down on the nail. That is going to give you a smooth application, you guys. It's going to enable you to bring it and drag it down how you want to. It's going to give you that flawless look of an application. So as you can see, it did go on. However, if you look really, really closely, you guys, it's literally getting stuck in my brush. It's dragging and getting caught in my brush. It's kind of like I'm moving it, but it's just moving to different spots, if that makes sense. It's not staying in one spot. So this one, just like Fairy Acrylics, you will have to let it sit for a minute before you are able to really drag it down. But again, I do not like slow pace acrylics like that. So maybe if you're a beginner, this would be good for you. But as of right now, this is not the type of acrylic that I look for. And yeah, so that is my take on Anna acrylics. Would I buy it again? No, I would not buy those acrylic powders again. Would I buy Fairy acrylic powders again? No, I will not buy Fairy acrylic powders again. If they change their formula and they come out with a better formula, then of course I will always try brands because I love to see brands grow. So this is not a video to bash any brand. This is my personal opinion on these acrylic powders. I know everybody has their different opinions on acrylic powders, but this is mine, and these are the acrylic powders that I do not prefer or prefer. At the end of this video, you are going to see the acrylic powders that I do prefer, and I'm going to show you the difference on how they swatch. And I'm going to do the same exact thing of swatching, how I swatch the beads, and you're going to see the difference in the swatches, you guys, I promise. So now we're taking Nail by Naya. This was my first time, not in this video, but this was my first time ever buying some of her acrylic powders. I have bought 3, but I think I gave 2 away to some people in mystery boxes because I did not have any use for them, and I like for you all to experience them on your own and yourself. I do not want to be like the bearer of bad news and just bring y'all bad reviews. If it's something that you may be interested in, I like for you to always try it out yourself. So I am, like, you see me plucking at the Anna acrylics bead that I put down way back in this video. It's still like this sticky, tacky, gummy consistency, you guys. Like, that's what it was doing after all this time. It was still not dry. Usually beads are going to be completely dry. Even if it is on a paper towel, they will be rock solid hard. So it was not, and I just want to show y'all that and keep it in the camera for you all, or keep it in the video. So now, like I said, I'm always dipping my brush in it. I am getting all the bubbles out of my brush. I'm making sure my brush is drenched in monomer. I am slightly tapping the tip of the brush, you guys. So there's always a lot of monomer in my brush, y'all. Like always a lot of monomer in my brush. So when I pick it up, nothing really should be chalky, or it should polymerize right away, because that's just how much that's how much monomer I have in my brush. So this acrylic powder right here, I will say that it was giving kind of chalky vibes at first. And it just kept dropping off the brush no matter how wet my brush was, you guys. I was using so much monomer. So this time I did a smaller bead with the same amount of monomer, and it polymerized quite nicely. I put it on the nail, but the way that it was dragging down was still not to my liking. However, it was not the worst out of the bunch today. So if I had to purchase some more, I would definitely get solid colors and try those again. But I do know in my previous videos that I've already listed, I experienced that this acrylic powder dries very, very slow. Just like the other ones that I've swatched today, except for Igel Beauty, they dry really, really slow. So it just would not be something that I would really purchase again on my own. But if I had to, or if she came out with some new colors or new acrylics, this might be an acrylic powder that I would try again in the near future. However, outside of that, I'm not ever going to purchase this acrylic powder to continue to just work with on a daily basis for clients. I just have to do too much to it. It takes too long. I like to put it on the nail and be able to make it, maybe let it sit for a little bit and just swipe it down and keep it going. These acrylic powders right here, in my experience, prevent you from working faster. So if you are somebody who really, really likes powders that just sit on the nail and they give you like a lot of time to go ahead and work with it, then maybe these are for you, like I said. But to my liking, they are not to my liking. I just wanted to bring the acrylic powders out that I did. And like I said, this is all in real time. Those are still not dry, you guys. They are still wet to the side. So I just want to show y'all that on camera to show you all just how wet they still were, and the fact that they are very, very slow drying acrylic powders. So off camera, I did just ball up a few of the paper towels, and I'm going ahead and I'm gonna clean off my brush again in some acetone. I have one more swatch of my least favorite acrylic powders and my lowest rated acrylic powders that I've ever swatched or ever owned on my channel. And so yeah, let's go ahead and just get into that. So this last, but I would say not least, but you know, this video this video doesn't, that saying doesn't apply for this video. So yeah, my last acrylic powder that I will be swatching today is going to be Diamond Acrylics. This is a actually local nail tech in my area who has the first Black owned nail supply store, if I'm not mistaken, in Virginia or in this area, I believe. And she recently launched a new formula to her acrylic powder. So this is the old formula, you guys. However, it is still in my collection, so I still will be reviewing it. But I'm gonna go deeper into that after we do this swatch. So I'm picking it up. Like y'all saw, I use the same amount of monomer in my brush. I am tapping it, and this one actually polymerized a little bit on itself, you guys. So it did drop, so it was a little dry, but it was more wet than the fairy acrylics and acrylics, and I think, yeah, those two. It was more wet than those, so it was about the same as nailed by Naya as far as the polymerization. and how quickly, but it was a little better than Nail by Naya. When I put it on the brush, it did sit on the brush how I like it to sit on the brush, but it was still glossy. So I was making sure that my brush was still wet. You always want to make sure that your brush is still a little damp, not soaked, but still a little damp, so that no acrylic powder is getting stuck in your brush. Now, this is the test of when your acrylic powder is good or decent and your brush is damp and you are able to drag it down without any of it lifting up. It's going to drag down seamlessly, and it should look just like this, you guys, when you are dragging it down. It should be dragging down, but no acrylic should be coming off patchy or in spots, if I'm making any sense. You should not be dragging the acrylic like literally off the nail, if that makes sense. So this one did actually well. I was actually surprised that it did this well, and it kind of changed my mind on the acrylics. Now, I will say that it did get stuck in my brush a little bit. It was a little on the tacky side, like how Igel Beauty is. So those were my cons. However, it was not the worst out of this bunch. Would I purchase from her again? Would I purchase from that brand again? I would not purchase her old brand or her old formula, but she does have a new formula out, which looks a lot like the ones that I use now and that I like. So I do feel like I'm going to purchase some acrylic powders from her in the near future, just because I had told y'all on a previous video that I wanted to try out her new formula anyway. So maybe that will be a video in the near future, and I will tell you all my review on her new formula. And that again is Dime Acrylics. So now I have 3 acrylic powders that I want to try side by side and give you all a look at what I consider a really good acrylic and some of my highest rated acrylic powders. Now I did pick out 3. I picked out Not Polish, I picked out Dynamic Nail Supply, and I also picked out Acrylic Creamery, which I recently found through Portia Nailed It. And I found that months ago when she first kind of talked about those acrylic powders, and I actually purchased that acrylic powder when it was $4. So it is a very small brand. It's a small business. So I wanted to put one acrylic powder that was a small business. I wanted to put one that was highly talked about, which is Not Polish. Everyone knows about Not Polish. And I also want to put one that was in the middle, which is highly talked about, but still a lot of people don't know about it, which is Dynamic Nail Supply. So I wanted to give you all 3 different levels of acrylic brands and show you all that I like 3 different acrylic brands on those different levels and how they swatch. Do y'all see how that Not Polish picked up automatically and automatically polymerized on that brush? That is what I'm talking about when I say it should automatically polymerize, you guys. Like your bead, once you place that bead in that brush in that acrylic powder after you have already put the monomer on the brush, it should polymerize on its own. I should not have to be tapping my brush, waiting for it. If I do have to do all that, that bead needs to swipe down beautifully. Like it needs to swipe down beautifully. And I will tell you exactly what I'm talking about again when I get to that and explain a little bit more. But this one, I did not have to do any work. Like I didn't have to do no work. Y'all see how quick that was? Quick, simple, easy, gone, boom. If you want to put another layer on it, then you can put another layer on it to make it a little bit more opaque. So I am going to clean off my brush in between each one just to give them all a fair chance. And so y'all don't think that I'm just talking out my tail and trying to hype up more talked about brands than these other brands, because I'm not. I promise you all, I always give true, real reviews, and I just want y'all to invest in quality and not waste your money on products that you are not going to be able to work with or that are just going to slow you down. So this is Dynamic Nail Supply. This is in the shade 177. Same thing, you guys. Do y'all see? Y'all saw no chalkiness. I did not have to let the bead sit on my brush. I didn't have to do any of that. It comes out super creamy, milky, whatever you want to call it, that consistency. Nothing is getting stuck in my brush. It looks great. Like, it's going on the nail great. Now, granted, I should have picked up a bigger bead, but again, this is a size 10. Now I use a size 12 or 14, but I still use this as my swatch brush because it is the brush that I have in like the best condition, and the bristles are perfect on this brush, and there's nothing wrong with this brush. So I use it for swatches to give true reviews. So like I said, as y'all can see, this acrylic powder is beautiful. If I need to go back with another bead, it blends beautifully. Again, I just need it bigger. I should have picked up bigger beads so that I could have just done one long swatch for you all, and it would have looked a little more pleasing to the eye. But y'all get the point. Y'all know what's going on here. Y'all see what is going on, okay? Last but not least is Acrylic Creamery. This one is such a great acrylic, you guys. This is actually the only color I have, and it used to be $4. I believe there's $6 or $8 now, but still a really, really good price, you guys. Still very, very affordable. I did go ahead and swatch it the same exact way as the other ones. Now, this one, as you can see, it is a little more on the drier side. However, do you see how I tapped it a little bit and it's polymerizing? That is what we want to see. We want to see it polymerize, even if it is a little bit on the drier side once we pick it up. Now, a little bit did get stuck in my brush, but it wasn't anything excessive. I wiped it right off and continued with the application. And this is how it was coming down, you guys. It came down beautifully. Like, look at it. Just look at it. I'm gonna just be quiet for a second. And I also want you all to note that please pay attention to how much I am wiping this bead with my brush and not dipping it back in the monomer. This just goes to show you that this is not sticking in my brush, you guys. Like, it's not sticking in my brush. It's not doing anything crazy to my brush. It's not coming off the nail into my brush. It's literally just being dragged down beautifully and seamlessly. It's like the perfect bead, you guys, the perfect bead. And it gives you a lot of time to work with it. So I will have that linked in my description box if y'all want to go check her out. I think her name is Vanna D Tips or something on Instagram. Hey girl, if you're watching this, she comments on a lot of my stuff on Instagram. So I did just want to show y'all that is a smaller business that has great acrylic powder. So I am not hating on those small businesses, y'all. It's nothing like that. I'm just giving you true, honest reviews, you guys. True, honest reviews. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And yeah, so now we're gonna go into the last swatch. This is the last swatch, and I just wanted to bring it back, run it back real quick. And I was just in my head, I was like, okay, since these came out so good, let me do it one more time, y'all. Let me do it one more time. We're gonna do it the same exact way. You see how much monomer is in my brush? 2 taps, 2 small taps, y'all. 2 small taps. It is super, it's just chalky. There's nothing I can do about it, you guys. I tried it again. I went back in the monomer. I tried it again, you guys. I just kept trying and trying. So y'all couldn't say that I wasn't trying. I did very light taps this time. Very, very light taps so that I could try to get this bead to polymerize on its own. And it just was not doing it. It wasn't doing it. It wasn't doing it. And y'all see how much acrylic powder I picked up from Acrylic Creamery in the shade Pear. I picked up a lot and it's still polymerized. So that's not an excuse either. Like, it's just the acrylic powder, you guys. It's just not the best acrylic powder for me. If you like that type of consistency, by all means, go ahead and purchase it. I am just giving you my honest review and my opinion on these acrylic powders. If you have a small business and you would like me to review any of your nail products or anything, even clothing, whatever it may be, I always have a business link in my description box where you can feel free to send me things to my business address and I will review it on my channel for you all. Just be very aware that I am always going to give my honest opinion about anything that I review, you guys, whether or not you are family, friends, I talk to you every day up here. Like, I will always be super transparent and super honest on my channel. So I do not want anybody to send anything to me in hopes of me just giving you flat out an honest review or a great review just because you know me. I am 100% going to be honest. As y'all saw though, y'all saw how it was still getting stuck in my brush. You do not want that. It was just not working out for me. But yeah, you guys, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Make sure the notification bell is on, y'all. And I will see y'all in the next video. I love y'all so much. Mwah. Bye.